Hey everybody, Mark here. Last week we established the standards of a top producer. So let's briefly review what we talked about last week. Top producers are not usually the guys or the gals with the best lines. They're the people with the strongest daily habits. They show up prepared. They follow up properly. They know their product. They respect the customer. And they repeat it all every day. Overarching theme of standards is control. Do you have control in your process? Do you have a plan? That process is your plan, and you have to execute it with control. If you do not, start at the beginning. Start with a plan. Put that plan into a process. Follow that process daily to maintain and establish your own standards. There's a famous quote. It's attributed to Mike Tyson. It goes something like this. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And of course, that's true. We have plans. We have a process. The issue is sticking to it, because the customer is going to throw curveballs at us every time. Every customer, curveballs, different curveballs, different customers. And the only way to maintain control is to stay on plan. Stay focused. Keep your process tight. Know it. Backwards, forwards, jump here, jump there, come back. You bring it back. You control it. Okay? That's the main focus of this discussion tonight, this topic. Control. And I'm calling it elegant control, because it's not rigid, you must do this, you're not listening to me. And I actually have a story about that. Years ago, I was training a new hire, really great guy, pleasant, positive attitude, respectful, clean-cut guy, actually came out of the military. This goes way back. This actually predates my time in in the motorcycle business. I was actually in the car business for a brief period. And during that time, there's one guy, I'll never forget this guy. He comes in, Mark, I'm getting out of the military. I've been in the military since I got out of high school. I've timed out. I can take my pension. I want to do something different. I want to sell cars. So at the time, I was a manager at a Honda car store. Hondas are very easy cars to sell, especially where we were. We were the only Honda store in the whole city. So, clean cut, respectful, mature, well-spoken, willing to learn, teachable. He had it all. The guy had it all. So we went through it was probably a full week of training. 3 days in the boardroom, strictly classroom environment. Last 2 days of that work week on the floor interacting with customers. So, did well in the classroom, always listening, asking good questions. I thought, okay, let's see. This guy has a good chance. Well, turns out once he got in on his own with customers, speaking to customers, the control element was anything but elegant. So I'm walking back to my office, and he was in the cubicle, open cubicle, 3 walls, no door. I'm coming past his office, and I hear, "No, that is not one of the responses. You're not supposed to say that." I thought, oh, what's this? So I go a little closer. He's still talking about something. No, that's not one of the answers. That's not what you're supposed to say. I poke my head around the corner, and the people are in the office like this, husband and wife, leaning back in their chairs. I look over. Hello, introduce myself. How's everybody today? What car were you looking at? They brought me up to speed. I didn't embarrass the guy. Of course not. I wanted it to work for him. I knew he had the knowledge, and this should have worked. But the rigidity with which he approached sales, and sales is not rigid when it comes to the interaction. Where the rigidity comes in is in sticking to your plan, but you have to be flexible and understand what the customer's needs are, understand what their concerns are, listen. Don't demand they go this certain direction. They may go off on a tangent. It could take 25 minutes to get them back onto your plan, onto the process. Take the 25 minutes. Take 30 minutes. Take 45 minutes if you need to. Whatever. Listen to understand, and then pull them back into your process, back on track. Okay? So this is the key. The poor guy, to button up that story, the poor guy, he realized then and there, as did I, that this wasn't going to work. It just didn't mesh with that element of his personality, that overly structured training and life that he'd lived for the previous 20 years. It didn't translate into dynamic interpersonal sales where you need to be willing to go with the flow, and the flow is different every time. Salespeople all over the world will agree no two interactions are identical. Not even close. It's not even close. But your process, if you've honed it, if you internalized it, if you understand how to go from start to middle to finish, and then after the sale is closed, follow up. Those are your 3 main steps, and the 4th is possibly, I dare say it might be one of the most important. So, introduction, needs assessment, suggesting the bike, coming to terms, closing the deal, doing the delivery, and then following up after the delivery. Very, very simple. It is simple, but then you have to execute. And everything is about execution. You must follow through on your plan. So, let's. How could he have done things differently? Well, he could have slowed down, taken a deep breath, explained to the folks, I'm new. So here's what we're going to do. If I'm not understanding what your needs are, I'm going to continue to ask you questions. Is that okay? I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to help you make the best decision. Okay? Even if it means you don't buy anything from me at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you get the best experience you can, have your questions answered, it's made very clear to you, and you can make a decision with all that information. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Acknowledge what the problem is, acknowledge what the needs are, respond to them, and pivot back to your path, back to your process, and maintain that. That's your standard. That's the standard of setting your process. Stick to it. I like to think of it as a roadmap. The process itself is truly like a roadmap. And if you're going to go to some place, if you've never been there, and let's face it, this is the thing, you don't know who's coming through the door today. You don't know who's phoning in today. Likely, you've never met the person. So you must assess the situation. You must gather information. And when you do that, you can set out what this customer's plan and process will be when you plug it into your process. So you're going to take them on the journey with you from start to finish. So I think we should dig in a little bit to what those steps are. We may not get through all of them today, but this is a recurring theme, and we're going to be talking about it a lot over the next, for sure, the next 3 to 6 months. We're just going to drive it home, drive it home, drive it home, okay? So, you've got your meet and greet. That's fairly straightforward. Introduction, you ask their names, you ask where they're from, you ask, have they brought their bike out this season? Have they got something that they've been riding in the past, looking to change, looking to add to their bikes? Maybe they only have one bike. Maybe it's a couple. Maybe they're just going to add a bike and keep the existing bike they have. Maybe they have no bike. Find out about the people. What did they ride? What do they ride? What do they want to do with the new bike? What have they been looking at? Has anything grabbed their attention? Comfortable conversation. Build a relationship. Very, very important. You don't cut right to the chase. A, B, C, D, E, here it is. Otherwise, you just have them fill out a kiosk at the front door, and then that's it. But that's not what people want. And that, I mean, if that was the case, then that's how they'd be doing it now. We've certainly got the technology to do that. So, when you're talking to them, you're also asking very important questions. And again, this is your process. This is the standard that you have to stick to. So what are you trying to find out? Why are they here? Why are they making a change? Why are they in the Harley store? Maybe it's not a change. Maybe it's the first bike ever. So what's their experience? Do they have their license? Do they have a trade? How are they going to pay for this bike? What's the plan? Are they going to finance it? Do we need to talk about that? Because as you go along, you're going to introduce these things back into the conversation. So maybe you don't jump right to, how are you going to pay for this thing? Hi, my name is Mark. How are you going to pay for this thing? No, of course you're not going to do that. But you might say, oh, you're interested in the road glides, or you're interested in the Honda Africa Twin. Oh, or you are interested in a CB500. Okay, great bike. Let's go have a look. I have one here. Throw a leg over. Is this what you were thinking? Fit them. Talk to them about fitment. Educate them. Why am I telling you about fitment? Because when you ride for any length of time, if your body is not in a proper rider triangle, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to have a great experience. Maybe you're 6'6" and the bike that you're on has your knees up under your armpits. Well, that's not going to work. You may love the look of it. Sure, you love the look of it. The price is right. Oh, speaking of the price, bikes like these, we sell a lot of these bikes actually, bikes like these, the one you're sitting on, they're going to run people, we've seen $475 a month all the way up to $565 a month. Oh, but that also includes varying down payments. Some people add the accessories in, some people add gear into the loan. So that's why there's a range. It's not a fixed dollar amount. So $475 up to $565. How does that seem? Oh, what's that? You want $350 a month? Hey, absolutely. We can for sure do that. It is going to require a large down payment or a trade. Do you have a trade? You mentioned you have another bike. Would you consider trading it? So these are conversational questions that are leading you through, you as the salesperson, but also the customers. Everything's being explained to them. You're going down that path, that metaphorical roadmap, the path. Started at the greet, asking questions, moving through the process. And you just carry on, carry on. They throw a curveball. Oh yeah, but my friend looked at this and he says this is better or this is not good and so on and so forth. There were problems with these. Really, what did he say? What have you heard? Did you do some research on that? What did you find? That's news to me. I haven't heard that. I mean, they are machines. Perhaps there were some problems. Someone had some problems. But generally speaking, these bikes are very reliable. I haven't heard of this problem that you're speaking of. And there is a 2-year warranty on the bike, unlimited kilometers, and if you want to keep the bike longer and have a more robust warranty for traveling, we also sell an extended warranty as well. That's available on this bike. So really, that should eliminate any of your concerns from a mechanical perspective. So let's go back and focus on style, functionality, comfort. That's the main thing. That's what I want to make sure you're happy with before we move further. So just to recap, You're looking for a second bike. You're keeping the bike you have. The bike you have is Honda ABC Cruiser, right? Bike you want, this Harley Davidson Road Glide touring bike. You'll be riding it. Your wife's going to take the Honda. Okay, we got that clear? Great, great plan. 475 up to 565. You're okay with that budget? Excellent. Let's move on. The next thing we need to do is, and then you go there. So you're leading, you're controlling the process. That's the key. And do it with a smile on your face. Do it calmly. Do it informatively. Okay? You don't arm wrestle the people. You don't bully them. That's not going to work out well. So elegant control. That should be the standard. Work your plan. Put it into a process. Stick to the process. And on that note, stores will have their own processes. So it's very important when you go into a dealership, when you begin working at a store, make sure you understand, before you even start, make sure you ask, what's your process here? What's your sales process? Can you explain it to me? Hear them out. Go through, role play. Actually role play that process before you agree to come on board. Because if the process is not compelling, or worse, even worst case scenario, there is no process, even an optimist like me, I'd be concerned. If the store sales department has no process, that's probably a very big red flag. Some people may argue, Mark, no, that means it's opportunity, wide open. And on some level, that's valid. They have a point. Because imagine, if you were able to come into an environment that dictates a process works and a process is needed to be successful, and I truly believe it is. I really, really believe that the best operators with the highest levels of performance and the highest standards all follow a very structured process on the back end. The store may have designed it and they've refined it and owned it and turned it into something that they've incorporated and internalized, and it's just natural to them. So, store process optimized for the individual, for you. Or less structured store process, but the space to incorporate your own process without being boxed in by the lack of process. There's a certain irony to a store that has no process, because that borders on chaos. And if there's no process and you're the only one with process, it really is going to be tough. You have to have a very powerful personality and be incredibly disciplined to make your process work inside a store that doesn't respect or value process in sales. So make sure you're in the right spot. Make sure you found a store with a process, or if you're a seasoned veteran, perhaps you're ready to really dig in and see if you can implement your own process in such a way that it's so disciplined. You could be incredibly successful within the store if you're the only one with a process. But I would argue, find a store with a process, one that works, and with a manager who encourages and supports the process, who you can talk to openly, who you can role play with so you can refine your process, and then just execute on your plan. Okay? I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. This has been good, but as I say, there's so much here. There's so much to talk about when it comes to process and plan and how you actually implement the process. Stick to it. Don't get derailed. So we're going to talk about this for probably the next 6 sessions, possibly 8 sessions. And we're going to have questions. So in the community, add your questions, add any comments you have, and we'll pick this up again in 2 weeks, okay? Thanks a lot. Stick to the standard. It's going to make you money. Thanks a lot.